Well, today it's 23 degrees and I think it's the 3rd or 4th of April, something like that. It's right at the beginning. So that's why we're outside, because it's really beautiful. Now, we are making soap because I have promised, absolutely promised everyone I would show them how easy it is. 3 ingredients: water, caustic soda, which is sodium hydroxide. That's probably marked on your packet, whatever they call it where you live. This comes in crystal form, very easy to pour out. Water comes straight out of the tap. Some people say you have to use stuff from bottles or whatever, or filtered, but to be honest, you don't. This is so simple. You are going to mix this chemical, which I've got weighed here, with this water. That will make a substance called lye. And people say, oh well, lye is deadly, it's dangerous, you shouldn't have it in soap, blah-de-blah. But it's just not true, because all soap is made with lye and there is no lye left in soap. So there are only 3 ingredients: the water, the crystals, and the olive oil. This recipe won't work for another oil. If you want to use another oil, you'll have to find another recipe, because the amount of lye, the amount of water, and the amount of olive oil is beautifully balanced, so that all of the lye saponifies with the oil to make soap. And it leaves a little tiny bit of oil left over to moisturize your skin. So all this hand washing, well, it won't ruin your skin. It's the gentlest you can get. This is the oil that I have found works the best. And from what I can see everywhere, everyone's saying that not using extra virgin olive oil, which of course is more expensive, is better. Use the next grade down, which is refined olive oil. It's still pure olive oil, but they've already taken out the first pressing, so it's cheaper. I think the whole of this cost me €8.50 in Spain. I live in France. It'll cost you more wherever you live in Europe, but even so, it'll still be a lot cheaper than buying olive oil Castile soap. Now, what you need to know is that these crystals, this oil, this water have all been weighed, because they have to be incredibly precise in the quantities. I've actually written it down because you know my memory. I've got 600 grams of the olive oil. I've got 109 grams of the water. I have 79 grams of the caustic soda. They are absolutely precise. You know, I'm ladling it out little tiny bits with a teaspoon. It's very important. Now, when you put these two, the water and the soda crystal together, it will produce a lot of heat. So I'm working on this wooden structure to protect the table from melting. It gets incredibly hot. The other thing is that you never add the water to the crystals, because this is the most reactive. So you always add that to the water. And you should remember that from your science classes at school if you were paying attention. It's a very basic rule. So we're going to take this and we're just going to... I'm using a wooden spoon. I keep this one just for doing soap, but because I don't want to use anything that is metal in here. I'm going to add about half. And I'm going to let it dissolve, and I can already feel it getting warmer. This is a Pyrex glass container. You need something that's pretty heat proof and not metal. Right. Now, if you don't keep it agitated, it settles on the bottom and forms a lump. You'll know when it's gone clear. It goes a sort of transparency, it clears. It doesn't just become no bits in there, it becomes clear. Now, while this is very hot now, while this I'm also moving it away so as I don't inhale it. And we're outside, so it's perfect. But I will keep that agitated whilst I show you what the moulds will be ultimately. These are simple cake moulds. I can't tell you that I wouldn't like to buy real soap making moulds, but they're very expensive. These are usually sold reasonably priced, and then they are reduced as the season changes. This size seems to work quite well, but it's the wrong shape, so I usually cut them in half using a piece of wire after they come out of here. These little heartlet things, I found these, and these are an ideal size. They're really nice to use, but these were for cakes made for Valentine's. Now you can see I've got a milky product. This I'm going to keep agitating now, and it will clear. I think there isn't anything on the bottom. No, there's no crystals left in it, but we haven't got it clear. We will. We now go away and come back in about 10 minutes time when it's dissolved. And I don't put that spoon down on anything, and I don't spill anything. If you think you're a bit more clumsy and it's the first time, wear gloves. Right, so this now you can feel it's warm, but it's got to be closer to this. So if this were freezing cold, then being warm isn't good enough. You need them sort of close together in temperature. But this particular jug was made for pancakes. Now I'm going to stir and I'm going to pour. Can you see inside? And you'll see it go sort of, ready? I want the last few drips out of it, so I'm still holding it over. I'm agitating it, but in a minute I'm going to use my little magic wand on it. Now you can see, ready? And you need to be in the top now, ready? Looking for oh dear, well, let's put that back on. It's supposed to stop the splashing, but of course I managed to push it off. Now I'm keeping the wand well below the surface. I'm not trying to incorporate oil, air. What I'm trying to do is to get it so well mixed that it will, all the molecules at molecule level become, it's not quite there, it needs to be slightly, I can feel it's thicker now.
The jug.
What?
It's pouring out of the jug.
Oh my God, so it is. Oh well, it's soap, it'll wash off. Now let's have a look. It's called a trace. It's where it starts to behave not like a liquid and almost like a cream. And you can see it's doing that. You want a light trace for this, and apart from the fact it was supposed to keep the table clean, but it didn't. Now I'm going to quite quickly pour it into these. It will change colour when you take it off. You now leave it for the best part of 2 days. Oops! And I think we get another bar out of this side. Now you've actually got quite a few bars out of this. You've done awfully well with very little. The cost of this is less than €1 a bar. It's obviously dependent on how much you are paying for your olive oil, but you can put this in some water, use your magic wand, and it just produces a soapy containing mess that just goes down the sink. I put this over the top, I put this over the top, and the reason I've done it on here is so that we can lift it without moving them around, because you now don't want to agitate them. You really want them to just left, and basically they cure. In about 2 days you'll pop them out, and I'll show you that. Then you leave them in theory for about 6 weeks, and that dries them out and hardens them. But before that I will cut these in half and show you. Hi, well, we're back now, and that's about 3 days because I was busy yesterday, but they're done. You can see they've gone solid. They're also more white, and you can just pop them out like this. These are some I've done earlier, and these are these cut in half. It's just I had these particular molds and they're just too big, but they are perfect. And these, they come out ever so easily. But what we now do is we put them, I've got them on top of my wardrobe, you just put them and leave them for 6 weeks. That's why they're so expensive to buy, this olive oil Castile soap. Okay, and I've got a very simple method to cut them. This, we picked this up second hand for I think €5, and it's basically a wire. Any piece of wire will do, and I then lift it. If you leave it any longer it gets too hard and you can't do it, but I'm putting a barrier of the little ones here so I know which ones they are. Now these, they will get harder. They are still sort of a bit sticky, and these are my oldest, and these are just soap. They make great gifts to give away, and they are extremely pure on the skin. Paul has very, very tender skin, and he just doesn't react to this at all. He couldn't dream of using ordinary soap, but olive oil soap he can use. There's no perfume in these, so they are very simple. Do not, as you saw, I covered these with something, it doesn't matter what. And the reason they're covered is because you get fluff, you get bits of pollen, and we have a cat, and you can guarantee the cat will sit on them. So now they go up on top of the wardrobe. When I need them, I picked them off this end. These, they're all right big, but as they love water, they get stickier as they just, you have to leave them to dry out again. But this size is perfect to use, absolutely perfect. But you might find all of these sort of silicone little molds that are not too small and just about the right size, reduced from Christmas or whatever. So there you are, soap.